Hello, Emily Diamond here with you, and I'm here to talk about relationship models. The intention of this video is such that you can identify what types of relationship models that you are by default subconsciously operating inside of. Look at the type of relationship models that you think will serve you best and give you a pathway to new patterns of power in developing new relationship models. We're going to talk about needs in relationships. When we look from a needs perspective, three models present for relationship dynamics. The first need-based relationship dynamic is the independent model. The second is the interdependent model, and the third is the codependent model. Codependency is a very popular, very well discussed area, and you can find thousands of books around codependency and toxic relationships. So I'm not going to talk heavily around codependency. There are amazing resources available for that. I'll talk enough to enable this video to become practical and supportive for you. The first relationship model that I want to discuss is codependency. And when we talk from a needs framework, codependency has that the needs that I have as an individual have become the responsibility of my romantic attachment, my partner, spouse, whatever the actual word is, that the label is that you give to the actual relationship. It's that the needs that I have for myself as an individual, not just my relationship needs, because they're two separate things, my personal needs and then the needs that I have from a relationship, they somehow become the attachment's responsibility. So great ways to identify codependency are if the attachment is emotionally distressed, you automatically become emotionally distressed. If the attachment is happy, you automatically become happy. And not happy for them, not distressed for them or concerned for them, but their state actually gets completely emulated by your state. Okay, so it's not empathy strategies. It's not about understanding consideration. It's that if they're having a bad time, you're having a bad time, and it affects you just as deeply. Same thing, if they're having a great time, you're having a great time, and it affects you just as deeply. And that's what's addictive about codependency. When it's going really, really good, then it feels amazing. And when it's going bad, it feels terrible. Okay, so like I said, so attractive and so addictive that when someone's got things going on and things are really nice, we get to have all of that beautiful experience as well. And the flip side being, when things are bad for them, things are bad for us. So we don't get to have dominion and domain over our state, over our mental, physical, and emotional experience. It becomes dictated by the partner, which is how those relationships very easily become destructive and volatile and violent and manipulative and plays around domination and submission. So, like I said, there's so much on codependency that I don't need to really add much to that conversation except to empower the models that I'm about to talk to you about, where we're really looking at the needs. So in codependency, the way we look at needs is that my personal needs and my relationship needs all are to be fulfilled by this external person, and it's their responsibility. And if they fail, then there's a lot of negative emotional consequences. So let's now talk about the model of independence. So having a relationship independently is almost, you can hear it, right? It's a bit ridiculous. It's kind of contradictory to the ethos of actually being in relationship, being in communion, being in communication, being connected. So independent relationships is where the, like 99% of the needs that you have for yourself and the needs that you have for a relationship, you meet yourself and you only allocate a very, very, very tiny skerrick to the person that you're romantically attached to. So that might be something as simple as, I take care of all my other needs. So I don't share with them my volatilities. I don't share with them my challenges. I don't share with them any sort of financial responsibilities. I don't share with them anything deep around my other relationships, or my profession, my spiritual explorations, my intellectual pursuits, my hobbies. So this person essentially is sort of separate from your life, and they fulfill just one part. And often for people who are having independent relationships, they fulfill a need like the need that we assign to them is that they meet some sort of sexual needs, or some sort of status or social needs, which is, don't want to be single because I don't like the identifications of that, feel like that's somehow a failure. So have this partner, and even though they only meet a couple of needs, or I'm only allowing them to meet a couple of needs because I withhold all the time, trying to be strong and tough and independent and protect myself and not be vulnerable and not feel like if the more I get deeper in, well, the more risk of hurt I have. So independent relationship models are for people who've been hurt. Okay, and a lot of independent relationship models you'll see happen late 20s, early 30s, and people who have trouble breaking that pattern of relationship independence experience that, sort of sad isolation of knowing that they have a desire to have relationships, but they have they just don't know how that's going to happen. They don't know how they're going to really share themselves or share their life because of just the volume of concerns they have. So that's relationship independence, where we only allocate them a very, very, very tiny sliver of needs. And I like to think about codependence is really where each person is a circle, and those circles are deeply overlapped, and people only remain for the little bit of their own circle. With independence, the circles are pretty much separate. And then that moves us to the final model, the model of interdependence. And this is considered the most empowered, healthy, needs-based relationship model that you can look at. And the way that those diagrams look is that they're two circles, but they cross over about a quarter of each other's circle. All right. So that means the person is still aware that they meet all their own needs, but then they almost delegate a bunch of those needs. So for instance, with partnerships where one person's better with money, the other person might be better with certain pursuits, like the way that person wants to, the way that those attachments want to have experiences together, or parent together, or pursue their careers together. These people say, you're better at meeting those needs than me, and I have those needs, so I'll allow you, or I'll invite you to meet those needs of mine. I will, in exchange, will meet a bunch of your needs. Okay, so that's where we talk about like fair exchange and agreements in relationships. So agreements are a really important distinction, that when I individually coach people, we work actively on what are their relationship agreements, making sure the need-meeting dynamic is really fair and open, so people don't get resentful or burnt out or withhold their needs and then wonder why they're not being met and being dissatisfied and feeling empty, which happens a lot when people aren't clear on what their needs are in their relationship. So this interdependent model, I'll get back on track, I promise. This interdependent model is where we essentially delegate some of our needs that we know it's either more efficient or more pleasing for our attachment to meet those needs, and we in turn offer to meet a bunch of theirs. I hope that gives you guys something around what this interdependent, independent, and codependent needs-based relationship dynamic means. And that, of course, to have an interdependent relationship, you then have to have some pretty significant levels of awareness and decisiveness around, well, what are my needs and what's important to me, and what needs would I want to delegate to a partner, and also what am I willing to offer to a partner. Thanks for your time. Bye.